is one of the most important roads in Tasmania. It runs from Launceston to the sea at Devonport, and then links up all the main towns in the northwest, ending at Marooa on the west coast. This film covers the 64 miles from Burnie to Stanley. The first place we come to along the road is Somerset. Then, a few miles further on, we pass another important town, Wynyard. There is good farming land here, but as we go further westward, the country changes and becomes poorer. We go over a long stretch of road without passing any towns at all, till we come to Stanley, our destination on Circular Head. And now we'll take to the highway. Right on the outskirts of Burnie, we come to the Cooee sale yards. Every Tuesday, farmers, stock dealers and butchers come here and gather around the auctioneers to do their buying and selling. These are the main livestock sales for farmers of the northwest coast. You'll see plenty of dairy cows as well as beef cattle in the pens, because this is Tasmania's biggest milk-producing area. Some farmers supply the local butter or cheese factories. Others send their milk to the Cadbury's depot at Cooee, not far from the sale yards. When the milk is tipped out of the cans, it is purified by pasteurization and then concentrated. This reduces its bulk. Then away it goes in the big road tanker to be made into chocolate at the factory at Hobart. Driving westwards from Cooee along the highway, we come to the Kam River. Just beyond the river lies the town of Somerset. There is a big abattoir and freezing works here, and a truck of fat lambs has just arrived for killing. Every year, thousands of carcasses of meat are prepared like this for export to other parts of the world. Another important industry at Somerset is the Plywood Mill. Loads of bush timber come here to be sawn up and made into plywood for the building trade. Going on from Somerset towards Wynyard, the railway and the road keep close to the coast. Approaching Wynyard, we come to a well-known landmark on the beach called Doctor's Rocks. By studying the rock formations and markings along this coastline, a geologist could tell you that 700 million years ago, all this land used to be under the sea. Later, it was covered with ice, and then, later still, volcanoes poured lava over the whole area. This cliff outside Wynyard is called Fossil Bluff. It is a treasure house for fossil hunters, and once a fossilized whale was found here. The sea has worn the soft rocks into strange shapes. You can still find the fossils of tiny seashells buried in the face of the cliff. From the top of Fossil Bluff, you can look right over the town of Wynyard. Wynyard is one of the main places on the Bass Highway. It is the center of a fertile farming district. It is a busy fishing port, and in the summer months, a popular holiday resort. The town lies at the mouth of the Inglis River, but Burnie acts as the port for Wynyard because the Inglis is too shallow for big boats. But plenty of fishing boats work from Wynyard, and you can always see fishermen around the jetties mending their nets or cleaning their catch. The Northwest Railway from Devonport and Burnie runs through Wynyard, and the line goes right past the airport. There's a freight plane in today from the mainland to pick up a load of bacon from the factory further along the coast at Smithton. And a passenger plane has just landed with some tourists from Melbourne. Wynyard is a very popular holiday place for tourists. There is a fine golf course, plenty of spots for camping and swimming, and good deep-sea fishing too. There is glorious scenery all along this part of the coast, and from Table Cape, west of Wynyard, you look over some of the best farmland in our island. Table Cape Lighthouse is a favorite lookout place for tourists. They come here to see the panorama over the coastline. The lighthouse has given the name to a brand of butter made at this factory on the Bass Highway outside Wynyard. The highway takes us through the rich dairying districts of Flowerdale and Sisters Creek. You will see some very big herds here. The weather has been dry lately, and there's not much grass about, so the farmer is hand-feeding his cows with silage to keep up their milk supply. Kevin is an expert driver, so he handles the tractor while his father and brother pitch the silage to the cows. It's good, juicy feed, this silage, and the cows love it. Over the hill, not very far away, lies a place called Boat Harbour. This sheltered little beach is one of the prettiest spots in Tasmania. In summertime, the beach at Boat Harbour is always crowded with holidaymakers. As we go further west along the highway, there's a sudden change in the landscape. We leave the rich red farmland behind and come into a long stretch of wild, rocky country. This is how the soil looks, stony and barren. Through this rough country runs the railway line to Stanley and Smithton. On the coast, we come to Rocky Cape, which was named by the explorers Flinders and Bass. Up on the side of Rocky Cape is a deep cave where Aborigines used to camp long ago, but the only people who camp here now are holidaymakers. We are in the Circular Head district now. Settlers first came to live here in 1826, early in our island's history. This is Detention River, one of the first places they explored. The highway runs on through the bush for a few more miles, and then away in the distance, across the water, we see a huge mass of rock. This is called the Nut, and at its foot lies the town of Stanley. With the Nut towering high above us, we drive down the street into the middle of Stanley and come to the end of our journey. Now, let us look at our map again to check the most important things we saw along the road. At Burnie, the cow stands for the sale yards and the Cadbury's milk depot at Cooee. At Somerset, the lamb reminds us of the abattoirs, and at Wynyard, the fish is for the fishing fleet. The fossils out at Fossil Bluff are shown by the shell. Remember the holidaymakers at Boat Harbour? And on the way to Rocky Cape, there was a long stretch of road running through rough bushland. The railway line runs through this area too, and that takes us right to Stanley, out on its rocky headland at the end of our journey.